Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ecosystem Aces. I'm Chip Rodgers, Chief Partner Officer at WorkSpan. Coming to you actually from Boston today, so a little bit different. And last week I was in Seattle. I did a session last week from Seattle, so I'm kind of all over the place these days. But
Downtown.
yeah, and really excited to be joined today by Ayuma Sangale. Ayuma, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I have been looking forward to this session, Chip.
Yeah, likewise, me too. And Ayuma is based in New York, in the New York area, and actually in the city. Are you in the city?
I am. I live in Manhattan, right in Financial District.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, in the heart of it.
I love it. So exciting. It's just so much energy down there, and that's terrific.
Yeah, it's been a great place to live. I've lived there for the last 12 years, and just seeing how it's changed over that time and really built up, and celebrating, and recognizing 9/11 last week. It was just really fantastic, and I really love the area.
Yeah, a lot of focus down there just last week. So those ceremonies every year are really just heartfelt and really wonderful to see.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love the city.
Yeah, New York is amazing.
Yeah.
It is. So Ayuma, again, welcome. Ayuma is a cloud sales strategist for AWS with Amazon. And Ayuma, you've been with Amazon now for about 8 years, right? So
Yeah, I'm coming up on 8 years in October 2nd. So it's been an incredible ride, Chip. I am still super excited to come to work every day and solve problems.
it's amazing, and a lot of I think you're in a really interesting role. And by the way, history with a lot of startup software companies, Operative in the past. I think about 4 years with Operative, and then Nexent previously. Went to Ohio State University,
I did.
and MBA from University of Utah. So you've covered the country as well.
I know. I like to try new things. What can I say?
Amazing. So, in your role as a cloud sales strategist, I'm really excited to just dive in because, first of all, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what your role is. But I really think it's just so important as AWS is going to market with partners and working with customers, that how everybody engages, what are the programs and processes that are put in place. Really important, and you're leading that. You're putting all those things together, so that's exciting.
Yeah, well, so for as far as the role goes, and what's been super interesting about it is I've kind of come full circle from when I first started at AWS. 8 years ago, I joined actually in the partnership organization. So I joined the EPN team, working in operations and really getting to understand the ecosystem of partners, both SI and ISV, and seeing how we're doing a lot, and we're really building out thousands and thousands and thousands of partnerships with technology companies, and building really cool solutions, and understanding how partners really help to excel and scale AWS. And so having that as my exposure and entry into AWS actually taught me a lot, both from an internal perspective, how we think through our partnerships, put together our programs, implement goals, and then also the evolution of going from focusing on building up a partnership ecosystem to then understanding how we get to the co-sell and co-development and execution with sales. And so I was fortunate enough to join at the time when we were transitioning to really develop what's our modern day partner sales organization, and putting into place some of the key programs that are now still in place, and helping to make the partner experience less friction and more efficient. And so as I moved into my role as a sales strategist, going from being in APN, in the APN organization, to then going into commercial sales, working on strategy, understanding the sales teams, understanding our products and services, understanding how we grow, has really helped to package this very unique experience where you can talk to and understand the partnership and alliance needs, programs, operations, and translate it to sales and our end customers who really need partners and partner solutions. And so I just feel very fortunate that I've been able to kind of get that 360 view, and now use that to help accelerate partnerships with AWS.
That's amazing, and I think it's so important. I think when because a lot of times sort of sales is at the front end of those engagements with partners and with customers. You mentioned when we were chatting earlier, that AWS is a platform, clearly, AWS cloud, and then that AWS partners are a lot of times at the leading edge of some of the innovation that's taking place. Talk a little bit about that, and how does AWS think about partners and help enable partners to do that?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've been fortunate in doing as a cloud sales strategist is really focusing, particularly in the last year and a half, on our independent software vendors and that set of customers, and how they are both customers and partners and software SaaS developers on cloud. And through that lens and working with that set of customers, it's just fascinating to see how our partners, particularly our ISV partners, are leading the way with generative AI, and leading the way with how we think about moving to cloud faster. They're changing the way that we engage with productivity tools, and scaling to reach thousands, millions of customers around the world. And so these use cases that we get in from ISVs and partners that are on the edge and trying these new things, they push us, right? And it helps us to get better, and then it helps us to think through, what can we do for this set of customers, or for customers that are on the edge, leading edge of technology, to build faster, scale faster, reach more customers, and just really be innovative. And so that helps us tremendously. And we wake up every day thinking about, how do we make things better for our partners, and help our technology to scale theirs. So it's been really cool to see.
That's awesome. What is that process like? The sort of co-build. You think about the partnering together, so co-build, and then going to market together, co-marketing, co-selling. Talk a little bit about that process at AWS, and how you think about the beginnings of starting with co-build.
Yeah. And so, to your point, we think about, particularly with our ISV customers, co-build, co-market, co-sell. And in the co-build phase, right, it is that there's a variety of scenarios that drive co-build, but at the end of the day, what really sticks with us, and what we what we live on and breathe, is working backwards from our customers. What are our customers need that we want to fulfill for them quickly? And where can our partners help us to do that faster, or scale that faster? And that's really where the birth of co-development or co-build begins, right? Is we're working backwards from solving customer problems together and thinking about how we do that better together versus alone. Sometimes we'll hear from customers or ISVs that, as I mentioned earlier, they're on the leading edge of technology. They're trying and pushing and scaling new things that we're all trying to learn, like generative AI, and some of them have found these, very unique and interesting use cases, and we may not be there yet, or they may have a particular niche in that area. Like partners may have a particular niche, or they have a set of customers that are have a particular need that maybe we complement. And so we kick around things like that in, through a variety of ways. One common one is an executive visioning session. And in that, we get together our key leaders across engineering and product and sales and partner, and collaborate then with our customers or partners, and they bring the same side, and we talk through, hey, we've got this idea. We listen to the customer or the partner and really understand, what are you trying to accomplish? How can we help you do that? Where do we think there's overlap? And then you kind of work through how would that work if we did it together? And it's not always smooth, right? And there can be variations, and I think that's just part of the sausage making. But that's typically a way we start, is we're thinking about our customers and the problems we're trying to solve, and how we can do that faster and better together.
That's awesome. I love that. You hear that a lot with AWS teams, working from the customer backwards, and I think that's it's just a great way to think about it, because you're always trying to deliver value for customers. That's ultimately what it's all about. I'm curious about this executive visioning session and those kinds of things. So how does something like that come about? Is it something that you're hearing from a customer, or you're seeing a unique challenge in the industry, or
varies. It varies. It can start from the partnership alliance perspective, where, as part of becoming an AWS partner, and as you kind of, accelerate through the maturity of that, there's variations of how do we engage strategically, and sometimes that leads to product development. Sometimes that leads to other types of partnership engagements. But on the sales side, we have the opportunity to do, again, what we call an executive visioning sessions. And those can come from, a simple customer meeting, the customer sharing some of their vision or their roadmap, or where they want to get to, and sellers can work through that with them, offering executive visioning as a way to kind of get executives into the room and really hash it out and talk through, like, where do you want to go, and how can AWS help you to achieve your growth, or your strategic vision, or your product innovation. And we set that up, and executives use that as a way to kind of build a relationship across the table, a top-to-top relationship, or two, to really work with our chief product officers and the product and engineering teams on a more strategic level of, how do we change the game, versus, hey, here's the tech stack and how things connect, and how the technology works. Like, they're two separate conversations, and we always want to start with working with our partners and customers and understanding what their vision is, or where they want to go, or what they're trying to achieve, how they want to serve their customers, and then using executive visioning as a tool to help get that kind of cemented and build those relationships.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm curious, and again, sort of, central to your role in, sales strategy for AWS. How, what are some of the things that, how do you think about, uh, your, I know your leader, you work for Carol Potts and her organization. And so Carol has a vision for how to try and execute across the sales organization. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the things that you do to put things in place, whether it's making things programmatic or putting funding and incentives and those kinds of things? Maybe talk a little bit about how that all works.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, there's a variety of ways that uh, that folks can come across enabling their strategy. And with the sales team, just in general, like if I thought about the team I'm on, we support North America under Rich Garofalo, and then Carol runs the ISV business for Rich, and so there's overarching strategies for sales, and we start with the customer and then back into those strategies across the broad sales organization. And then we dive into, the particular segments or industries that we're aligned to. So as I'm aligned to ISV, I first want to plug in to make sure, okay, across AWS's strategies for, hey, we want to make sure we're working backwards from our customers to, make sure that we have that AWS is the best place to build for the preferred cloud provider for our customers, because we're able to deliver exceptional experience and technology.
Yeah.
For example, and then underneath that, there's a set of criteria that ISVs may have, and so what we do is establish kind of some guiding principles around what is it that our customer set needs, how is AWS fulfilling that, and then how do we understand the growth levers that are associated with getting to that?
Mm.
And then within each of those pillars, I personally like to work one backwards from the customer. I'll continue to say that day in, day out, and have an objective point of view of the customer needs X, and AWS can help by doing X, Y, and Z, in addition to utilizing our partners. And the unique situation for ISVs is that they're also our technology partners. And so a lot of what I do is understand the place we want to go, right? Our strategy is to get somewhere, and then we need to do these things to get there. And I need to understand the path each of those things have, and then bridge the gap, understand we'll need funding, or we'll need headcount, or we'll need our teams to look like X, or, we want to make things easier for our partners because of X, Y, and Z, and therefore we have to do these things. And so I just continue to layer in and just bite off, a piece that we can chew, and solve the problems kind of small to large, right? You can start really big, but you got to start somewhere. And so I usually start where we prioritize either a growth initiative or a customer outcome or experience that we want to make sure is present. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a big job with because you have to build things in a way that it's repeatable and scalable, right, for the whole organization. So it's not easy.
Yeah, it can be challenging. I can give you a partnership example just as a for instance. We have ISVs that are both customers and partners. And in that instance, when we want to make sure that ISVs that either aren't in APN or APO yet are, and that they have a good experience, what I recognized was, we want to, if our goal is we want all ISVs to become partners, for example, right, then what are the things that we need to put into place? and that's people, processes, and tools, right? And we may have gaps in people, so processes and tools need to be really efficient. Or we may have the people not have the tools, and so we need to go develop the tools to make sure that when our partners are onboarding and going through the recruitment process, that they have this kind of engagement. Because at the end of the day, we want our relationship with them as customers and partners to be incredible. And so we've got to make sure that we're on par for both, and then break it down underneath. And so those are some of the things that I try and help solve as part of being a sales strategist.
Yeah. And it's working well?
I guess I mean people like you, Chip. So I think so. There's some consolation in it. But yeah, I think for me, because of the experience that I had coming into it, I think it's a lot easier for me to understand where pieces are broken or where there's gaps to help connect sales and partner and make that experience stronger for our partners, because we need partners and we need you guys to scale, and we need help with making sure that the customers we jointly are working with have an amazing experience, and that only comes through working with our partners.
Yeah. So for the partners that are in the audience today and listening and hearing you talk, Ayuma, what are the things that they should be thinking about? How can they engage with AWS and become more successful and grow their business?
Yeah. I think that starts with understanding your strategy and your vision for not only your business, but also for what you envision good alliances and partnerships to look like. What does that help you drive in terms of outcomes for your business growth and initiatives, your customers and your solutions, your product, and really getting a good understanding of that. Because, it's kind of like when you go to college and you're not sure what you want to, what degree you want, then you take a bunch of classes for your first year, and then you're there for 5 years because you weren't sure what you wanted to graduate in. And that's okay, right? That's all right. But it helps when you understand the vision and your strategy. So that'd be kind of one of my first suggestions to those folks in the audience looking to partner with AWS. I think the second is, really understanding and knowing that you have to cultivate the partnership and the alliances with your strategy that you've developed, right? And so I think there's this notion that all of a sudden you work with AWS and the partnership's going to be great, and it's not going to be hard, and you'll get all these leads, and you will in time, but it takes work and it takes time, and you really have to understand what you want to do to help you fulfill that, right? So help us help you is kind of the second piece that I would add to that. And I assure you that AWS is there, ready, willing to back, put the resources, the funding, the support you need for that, and making sure your engagements and your growth and your business take off. And then the final thing that I'd say, Chip, is understand that it is a journey. And so as you mature and learn and the best practices are there's other partners that are going through the same thing. And so definitely I encourage to learn and observe and share and work together because we all need each other. And it's fascinating and fantastic that we have this large ecosystem. And so let's just all be better together.
I love that, Ayuma. And we were again talking a little bit earlier, and I think one of the things that you mentioned is this sort of hunger and thirst from partners to not only work with AWS but work with each other.
Yeah. I was so invigorated at Catalyst to see the energy of partners working together, learning from each other, asking each other questions, sharing their battles, wounds, and their trials and tribulations, but also that, kind of light at the end of the tunnel of what happens when you come out on the other side, and the possibilities that are out there for success, and the excitement that we have at AWS to work with our partners day in and out. It was fantastic, and I loved seeing that and feeling that energy.
Yeah, it is, I think, and even just last week at the Marketplace Sellers Conference, same sort of idea. There was a lot of really great content that was presented for learning and all that, but there was a lot of time in between sessions where you just see partners, getting together and talking about their challenges and what's working and what's not working, and those kinds of things. So.
Yeah, and I promise, partner to partner success is makes up for all of the pain and the battle scars along the way. And I love hearing a good partner use case or success story. It thrills me to see that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And ultimately it's all, as you've been saying, it's all about bringing value to customers.
100%. Yeah. And the great thing about customers is that they always have challenges. And so we have no shortage of work to do to help them solve those challenges and delight them along the way. And so that gets me excited every day. I love hearing a new story of where we can solve a problem together with our partners. So there's endless amounts of work to do. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
yeah. That's what keeps us all employed, right?
Right? Exactly.
So Ayuma, maybe just one last question as we kind of wrap up. This has been a fantastic session. I really appreciate you sharing so much. You've been working with partners a long time. Maybe do you have some maybe a piece of advice or something that you've learned along the way that has helped you be successful and gotten to where you are, that you would want to share with other partner leaders?
Yeah, I think what's helped me the most are two things. The first is just learning. Really, we have a leadership principle of learn and be curious, and I've really made good use of that leadership principle, just so that one, you learn your mistakes quickly and you can recover from them. And then the second is that there's so many things between customers and partners and businesses that happen, that understanding them, just it helps you to move faster. So that's the first. And to kind of piggyback on that is make as many friends as possible. You're amazing at this, Chip, but make as many friends as possible and try and do a favor for one person a week, right? I could never have moved around AWS and gotten into these positions without knowing someone, and they always come back to you, right? You have one time to make a good first impression, one time to do a nice thing for someone, and it sticks with them. And when you need help, you have a steady supply of people to help you get through your challenges. And so those would be the two things that I would give as advice. Just learn as much as you can, meet as many people, build relationships, and then just see, the fruits of your labor from that.
Those are two really good ones, and they're good for partnering, but they're good for work in general, and they're good for life in general. Crosses many categories.
Yeah, I've had a lot of hard lessons, so some good takeaways. But yeah, I hope those are useful for folks listening in.
Yeah. Well, Ayuma, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate you, spending some time with us today on Monday afternoon and sharing your thoughts and thank you.
Thank you for having me. It flew by, but I'm super thrilled, and thanks again.
Fantastic. So I think with that, I'll just say thank you all for joining us for another episode of Ecosystem Aces. And for Ayuma Sangale, I'm Chip Rodgers. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ayuma.